The treaty with the Jews, a model of peaceful coexistence. Soon after the Prophet Muhammad settled in Medina and laid down strong foundations for a unified Islamic society, administratively, politically, and ideologically, he turned his attention to establishing stable relations with the non-Muslim communities of the region. These efforts were not driven by political dominance or control but rather by a desire to ensure peace, security, and mutual cooperation for all people. Engaging with the Jews of Medina. The Jews, being the closest non-Muslim community geographically, lived in and around Medina and maintained a strong presence in the region. Despite harboring inner resentment and silent opposition to the Prophet and the Islamic movement, they did not show open hostility at the time. Instead of resorting to hostility, banishment, or confiscation of land, the Prophet pursued a peaceful path of diplomacy. He proposed and ratified a formal treaty with the Jewish tribes to ensure harmony, safeguard rights, and establish mutual responsibilities within the new social order. This treaty with the Jews was part of a broader constitution that also governed Muslim internal relations and outlined the shared duties of all communities under the new Islamic polity. Key clauses of the Medina Treaty. Here are the major provisions of the treaty as recorded by early historians. The Jews of Banu Awf shall be considered one community with the believers. Each community will bear responsibility for its own financial matters. In the case of an attack by a third party, mutual defense shall be mandatory. Joint consultation shall take place between both groups. No party shall act in violation of the rights of the other. The wronged party shall receive full support. The Jews shall share the expenses of war if they are fighting alongside the Muslims. Medina shall be considered sacred and inviolable for all those who accept this treaty. Any disputes arising under this treaty shall be referred to Allah and His Messenger for resolution. The signatories shall boycott the Quraysh commercially and shall not support them in any form. All parties shall assist in the defense of Medina within their respective areas if attacked. The treaty does not restrict either party from seeking just and lawful retaliation for wrongs done. Ibn Hisham 1/503-504. The First Islamic Coalition State. With this treaty, Medina and its surrounding areas effectively became a unified political entity, a coalition state, under the overarching leadership of Prophet Muhammad. While the Jews retained their religious and internal autonomy, governing authority rested with the Muslims, and Medina emerged as the capital of the Islamic State. Following this model of peaceful coexistence and security, the Prophet would go on to sign similar agreements with other tribes around Medina. These treaties aimed to expand the zone of peace, protect the rights of all parties, and establish a stable society. Mounting tensions, Quraysh threats and internal treachery in Medina. Following the Prophet Muhammad's emigration to Medina, the Quraysh of Mecca were humiliated by his successful escape and enraged by his increasing influence in the city. In retaliation, they intensified persecution of Muslims left behind in Mecca and sought to destabilize Medina through secret alliances. Among their targets was Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul, the chief of Medina's polytheists and once considered the likely king of the Aws and Khazraj tribes. The Quraysh sent him a harsh ultimatum: either expel Muhammad or fight him, or else they would invade Medina and destroy its people. Narrated by Abu Dawud. Driven by wounded pride and lost status, Abdullah bin Ubay appeared to cooperate with the Quraysh. He tried to rally his supporters to act against the Prophet. However, the Prophet summoned him, cautioned him sternly, and warned his followers against falling into these plots. His men, fearing consequences, ultimately backed down, though their leader remained a covert ally of the Quraysh and some of the resentful Jewish tribes. Rising provocations from Mecca. The situation continued to worsen. Skirmishes and hostile exchanges became more frequent, signaling an impending major clash. At one point, Sa'd bin Mu'adh, a noble from the Ansar, visited Mecca for Umrah. Umayyah bin Khalaf, a Meccan polytheist and old friend, offered him protection for the ritual. Yet when Abu Jahl, a fierce enemy of Islam, saw Sa'd in the sacred mosque, he threatened to kill him. Sa'd boldly warned Abu Jahl that if any harm came to him, Muslims would cut off Quraysh trade routes in retaliation. Bukhari 2/563. As threats escalated, the Quraysh even sent direct written warnings to the Muslims in Medina, pledging to attack and kill them in their own city. These were no empty threats. The Prophet received verified intelligence reports about Quraysh's plots and preparations. A city on guard, security and divine assurance. In response, the Muslims established a state of high alert. Guards were posted around the Prophet's residence and in key areas of the city. One night, shortly after arriving in Medina, the Prophet expressed a wish that someone would watch over him. Moments later, the sound of clanging weapons was heard outside. It was Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, who said, "I feared harm might come to the Messenger of Allah, so I came to stand guard." The Prophet praised him and prayed for him, then rested peacefully. Muslim 2 of 280, Bukhari 1 of 404. This vigilant security continued until a divine revelation brought peace to the Prophet's heart. Allah will protect you from mankind. Al-Quran 5 hours 67 minutes. Upon hearing this verse, the Prophet appeared from the rooftop of his home and instructed the guards to leave. He declared that Allah himself would now protect him. At-Tirmidhi 2 of 130.